Sam, welcome back to the podcast, my man. It was fun hanging out with you this past weekend. Massive victory, senior night. You went out on top. A lot of fun stuff to get into today, but the most important thing that I want to talk to you about is you found the Banana Man. You found it.
I did. Yeah, we actually, that's the power, one of the great things of social media is, literally that night, I found him on Instagram, or we kind of found each other. And then throughout the next day, we were kind of just going back and forth on where should we meet? It was a done deal. Like, he was getting the jersey, and he's Ryan. I met a new friend and a new guy. That I appreciate, and definitely was a very cool and humbling experience for sure. Of somebody who's just a big fan. Has been a fan for a while, and I was really happy to get it done. And we just met on the quad. So actually, the picture behind me, we met right out there.
Can't write any better.
Yeah, exactly. And so we got it done. And, he's a great dude, and looking forward to it. And it was very cool. And so, maybe I come out next week in a banana costume, but who knows?
Maybe. I mean, Sam, you got to keep people on their toes. Do we think this is the first ever football jersey banana costume switch, like in the history of the world?
Absolutely.
Perhaps?
Absolutely. I think so. I think it has to be. I think that's the only.
Wow. History.
I'm not sure, but history in the making for sure.
History in the making. Well, speaking of history in the making, Sam, you had your senior day at Truist Field, and I mean, it really couldn't have gone much better. You balled out. Your team got the win. What did that mean to you to be able to win your last game at Truist Field, a place where you've played a lot of football?
It meant everything. I mean, I think all the kind of emotions, right? Like, Eric, you kind of understand it. It's like you've been playing, for a long time at one place, and your routines and your different spots on the field and your different memories. They all kind of flood in, that last time. Really, it kind of hit me when I was doing my pregame warm-up. It was kind of like, the next time I'm going to be out standing on the field, I'll be in sweats and a jacket and just kind of standing there. And so it hit me then. And then, obviously the game, and then senior night and seeing my mom and dad on the field, and, kind of running out. And then really the last really big kind of after the game was, very sentimental, but kind of that we always go out early as captains, and that kind of lap down, and like our crowd and kind of Whom the Bell Tolls is playing, and you're all juiced up, and kind of me, Juergens, and Blake we came in mid-year together, and we kind of all just kind of stood there for a second, kind of soaked it in, and I wouldn't say that some of us weren't tearing up, and so it was kind of like we knew that this was it, and so it was just good to, like you said, get a win. So the next time I'm on there, the last real memory was winning. So
yeah, that's incredible, man. And just again, to go out the way you did, 70% completion rate, 375 total yards, 4 passing tutties. I mean, it was impressive to watch. And your last play ever on that field, you're in victory formation, taking a knee. I mean, it's pretty cool. I want to ask you, do you remember your first play at Truist Field ever? What your first play was?
First play ever. I'm trying to think, what game would that have been? It would have been.
I'm not helping you at all.
I don't even think you gotta
just
you
dig down.
Could. I'm trying to think, because two.
I've got it. What do you mean? I did the research. I've got it written down right
now. I don't know if I could. So we did Tulane.
It's Townsend.
And I'm gonna guess it was some type of a gap scheme handoff. Was it a run?
That's a good guess. That's a great guess. That's what it was against Tulane. And then you went for 5 million passing yards, which was crazy. Your first ever start. But at home, your first ever play in front of Deep Nation, 23-yard pass to Greg Dortch, who you would go on to throw it to him 40 times that game. Yeah. And he's balling right now on Monday night. So that's pretty cool to see the evolution of it.
I remember that exact play. That's funny. Yes, I do. I do remember. Yep. 100% now I remember. Yeah, it was kind of like a glance across the field.
Yeah, that's exactly
right. We were on the left. Yep. No, I do remember that. Yeah, that was the first one.
A lot of passes since then. Right, that was the first one. That was the first one
ever.
I
could watch that game and tell you somewhat, and then I could tell you a lot of times I didn't know what was going on. So
Sure. Make it happen, whatever it has to do. Listen, hey, we talked about this on Saturday night, but I want our listeners here to kind of hear it as well, because I loved your answer. The legacy that you have left, the legacy that your senior classmates, that you just mentioned a handful of them, that have left on Wake Forest has been amazing. Was this the vision that you had coming to Wake Forest? Like, you knew, hey, I make this decision, we're going to change this thing for the better.
Yeah, there was always talks of it, and there was always like, oh, I'd love to get to an ACC championship. You love to win an ACC championship. You love to, good to great was kind of that, last year's big motto, and I feel like that kind of encapsulates our entire career here of trying to get over the hump and get into the win columns and get into the ACC contention and the Atlantic, and then obviously the whole entire division. So I think so. I mean, but again, it's like talk is cheap, as they say, and I think it was really just a lot of buy-in from a lot of different guys, and us sticking to the base stuff, and I think it really comes down to a team like us. We're really never going to be on paper better than a lot of the teams we play, especially in the ACC and the Atlantic. I'd say probably 3 games this year we're going to say match. Like, if you look at us on paper, we're a better football team. And obviously, again, it's the same thing. Numbers are numbers, and that stuff usually doesn't mean anything. College football, you watch, last week, any team can beat any team on any day. And so, but if you just look at it from, a number standpoint, so we know and we knew throughout our whole career, it's always going to be detailed execution, out preparing, outworking, the 1%, all that stuff. And I think we just have done such a great job at that. And honestly, at this year, we haven't done, in some points, the best job. And, that falls on us as players to, be detailed, be execute, and especially on the road, all the different factors. And, but I think so. And I think we've set the standard and set a tone that, in order to do it, it's not going to be easy, and it's not something that you can just show up and do, which we learned this year. And I think a lot of the younger guys are seeing, like, we know inside our program that we have a special football team this year, and on offense we just we got some dudes all across the board, but it's not going to just happen, right? We can't just go up to Louisville and expect to win, right? They came out and just whooped our tail for 4 quarters, and so on and so forth. So I think so, but I still think there's always that next step or that next level that guys can do, and I think that's also the challenge here is like we got to do it every. There's we're not playing where it's like 7 games out of our regular season, we're better than the team. And if we sleepwalk through the first, second quarter, we'll be fine. It's like, no, we have to show up week in and week out. And like most teams, you have to do that. But, especially here, it's definitely a challenge.
Sam, we know you have a few games left, of course, the game against Duke and then a bowl game. But when you look back, and I know that Deke Nation loves you. You can cite my mother-in-law as one of those people who just got to meet you. But what do you hope they remember about you and your time at Wake?
I played with passion. I played with, I gave them a good show, I guess, as they say. My favorite movie of all time might be cliche. Sorry, there's gonna be some loud noises going on down.
You're good.
But my favorite movie of all time is Gladiator. So it's kind of the whole
man in the arena.
Exactly.
Come on.
And so. It's your job to be in the arena and entertain. That's what a gladiator does is he's got to put on a show and perform. So I think that's a part of it. And, give people experiences like the ACC championship last year of going down to Charlotte and having a student body travel like we did and so on and so forth. So I think to narrow it down would just be play with passion, play with, like an edge, but, always keeping composure, never like losing it, giving a kid a bad habit of, I've slammed my helmet a time or two, but, not showing like a younger kid that that's okay. And then just giving them, memories that'll last a lifetime.
I love that, Sam. And, when you talk about the success that you guys have had here, just it's really an unprecedented run in the history of Wake Forest and their football program. I know that you and your senior class has been a big part of that, but what else would you attribute it to? Maybe Coach Clausen or just the buy-in from the athletic department at Wake Forest. What else would you attribute these years of success to?
Yeah, I mean, I think like if I turn my camera, but I don't want to like make it a big ordeal, but like obviously we have our new facilities going up. So it starts from the top, right? It starts with obviously President Winty, AD John Curry, and then the Coach Clausen as well. But just their buy-in to our program and to get us, rolling and get us kind of not caught up would be a bad word to use because like our weight room and our facilities, our football offices is all, top of the line, state of the art. But like our locker room and practice facilities and whatnot, and rehab and recovery are all like right on the cusp of being, up there with everybody in the country. And so I think that's a start, and that's, more for the next generations and the next kind of to make, like I said earlier, just make that next step. But I think it starts with Coach Clausen. I think his consistency and just who he is as a person, day in and day out, right? Never too high, never too low. It's a very easy person to play for and an easy, person to go to war with. And I think that sets the tone as myself as a captain, and then that message relayed through us as captains, and then to the team, and I think another part of it that gets very undershadowed is our buy-in from the younger guys. Like I'm sure you guys have it at Clemson, but like your scout team's giving you everything they have, and they're giving it in a way of not trying to take undercut a receiver, but they're giving you the best look that they can possibly, and they're working their butt off, knowing I'm never going to see the field, but it's like, hey, that's everyone has a job on the team, and I think that's been such a cool thing. Is like my first 2-3 years, it was very hard to get a good look, and now these guys are coming out and just busting their tail day in and day out. It's like that's a part of our winning culture is a lot of the guys that are greats, like Greg Dortch was a scout team guy and dominated. Right, you see, Scotty Washington, like all the guys, like O linemen that are playing, like Zach Tom, scout team, right? All like everybody who's kind of come through and is a guy who started on scout team, worked their butt off, got bigger, got stronger, and then ended up, contributing on the field down the road.
Yeah, and I mean that's development. That's when I think of Wake Forest, I think of a coaching staff and players that develop maybe better than anybody in the country. That when you take with what you got when you walked on campus versus what you're going to be when you leave. I mean, that's why to me, and I know you don't want to hear this, and I don't either because I don't want him to leave, but Coach Clausen is one of the best coaches in the country. Why his name is not up when these big opportunities arrive, I never understand it. Like I said, I'm cool with it. Let's stay in the ACC. Let's stay at Wake where you are. But that development piece is just such a big piece of this program. And a guy that has really been molded and was able to take it to an unreal level, I feel like, was A.T. Perry. And Coach Clausen gave you a ton of credit for that. He said, listen, Sam took him after practices, watch film, work on routes, all these different things, and you put in the time, with A.T. to help turn him into this. What was that process like to where he came from nowhere to, double-digit touchdowns last year and probably going to do it again this year?
Yeah, I think it's a credit to him, and I think it's, kind of gets lost in it as well. It's like you're talking about Coach Clausen leaving. Everybody's just, well, it doesn't work, so I'm just going to go to the next school, and then it doesn't work there, so I'm going to go to the next school. And it's like, it's a pretty bad life skill, I would say, if I'm going to, sit on my, throne and throw stones. It's like, in everything in life, you're going to have challenges. You're going to have ups and downs, and there's, certain situations, coach leaves. I know, I get that part. But I think that's a part of what made AT so special, and he just stuck to it, right? A lot of kids you see that would come in with his talent level, like we can see now. You sit for a year, you sit for 2 years, you almost sit for 3 years. You're like, hey, what's going on? Like, I'm gonna go,
Sure.
Test the water somewhere else. The grass is always greener type mentality. He stuck it out, and credit to Coach Higgins, another outstanding. Our staff is just one of the best, and we've had the same offensive staff since I was here and years before. And I think that all those different factors just make it so easy to grow and have success because, yeah, you might fail when you're young, but they stick with you, and they're not like, oh, we're gonna bring in this 4-star transfer or this transfer from here that didn't work out. It's like we only bring in really grad transfers. And so it's not like you're, waiting to get replaced. They're not like bringing a guy in and that he's going to get your job because he's got this kind of deal coming in or whatever. So I think it's just accumulate like a whole, just the circle of, I guess, life here that you kind of just can thrive off of. And you never really feel like they completely give up on you if you consistently show up and put in the work. And it's been very cool to see multiple guys like that, but especially AT kind of take it to the next level.
It's so interesting, Sam, because we've heard coaches say that the whole guys are transferring and, it can be an issue because the grass isn't always greener. It's rare to hear a player say that. And I think obviously you're a veteran player, so you've seen guys go through it, but that's just really cool to hear. And when we talk about Coach Clausen, he's talked about you and he said, you've always had the arm talent. You've always had the football IQ. That third piece was the leadership piece and having a team that will literally run through a wall for you. How do you feel like you've been able to develop that over the past 3 years at Wake?
Again, like I think, like it kind of always, my interviews always become full circle interviews, is the, the talk is cheap kind of mentality is definitely something that I've seen. And even myself, as a freshman, sophomore, you want to, assert yourself and be vocal and try and, get guys to buy in because you give a great speech, or the rah-rah and the screaming and getting hype in the weight room. And I think it's performance. I think it's a lot of it is like if you can go out and play well and, risk your body for the guy next to you, especially as a quarterback. And especially in our offense, like, as an O lineman, like if your quarterback just gets out of the way of everything and every time pressure gets around, or like, hey man, like you got to block that guy. It's like I don't know if I've ever raised my voice other than, a couple times at my own players and even other other players on the field as well. It's like, I think that's a big part of it. I would like to say is just like you make a mistake, like mental stuff, like I can, that might get me fired up if it's like a, constant, struggle, but physically, like you're going to miss your blocks. You're going to drop your passes. You're going to, stumble, fall, all the different things. So it's like, I think just getting the guys to trust, that I'm not like, I expect perfection. Cause then again, it's on the flip side. It's like, if I'm going to expect that, if I miss a throw and then I'm like, whoa, you can't get mad at me because,
right.
It's kind of that like, not, leading from like a point of view of like, I'm a 3-year captain, I'm a senior, or like I'm the quarterback. It's more like we're all out there to get better. We're all out there to win games. Like I need you as much as you need me. You need me as much as I need you. Let's just do this thing together. And when it comes time, like they know that I'm going to, dive in front of that guy for the first down, or they're going to do it the same. And so I think that's one made us so successful. And one, I think has, gotten guys to be more bought in for me, and then me vice versa the other way.
Yeah.
We've seen you throw blocks,
appreciation
Sam.
for each other's job. Yeah, we have. I've seen you do
We've
like
seen
this
it.
weird maneuver where you're like boxing out.
Block.
I'm like, hey, bud, it's the wrong sport. It's the wrong
it's the old
sport.
block.
That's right. It gets it done. Well, Sam, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to be a kid for a second, because I know you're a grown man, and sometimes it's like I'm talking to a coach. I'm like, can I just talk to Sam, the quarterback, for a second? You're about to break history, and you're this close, and I know you don't want me to ask you this, but you're 4 away from throwing more touchdowns than anybody ever in the entire ACC that's ever lived. It's got to be cool to think about. Do you think about it at all, or are you totally cool, calm, collect? I'm in coach mode. I'm not even looking at it.
No, I mean, you definitely see it. And, obviously, like
There we go. People. I found some.
No, you do. And I mean, again, that's like that's more like a down the road old man. Like, hey, kid. Like,
that's right.
That's right. It's cool at some point. But no, I think the one humbling thing was I looked up and like the SEC records, like 160 or something crazy. I'm like, yeah, all right. Well, I'm not that good. Like Joe Burrow threw like 60 in 1 year, so it's definitely it's definitely one of those things where you're like, yeah, this is cool. But you also look across, like Drake May's throwing like 40 already, so I'm sure he'll catch me in 3 years. So it's not really, it's nothing that I'm too concerned about. But yeah, it would be cool. It's obviously, and again, it's like one of those things where I'll put my coaching hat back on, but still my hat of it's all the people who's bought in. It's like it goes back. Mm-hmm. It's like the same with AT, that they stuck with him, he stuck with us. It's like they stuck with me through, bad years, good games, bad games, all the, everything that I've done here, they've stuck with me, good, bad, and the ugly. And so it's more credit to the people around me than myself. I just throw a football here and there.
Too humble, Sam, but you know what? That's okay. We respect it. That would be a hell of a record. But I also think in some ways Mac is trying to you're pitching a perfect game and Mac's trying to jinx you. So I felt uncomfortable with that question too. Don't worry.
No. if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Then somebody else will get it.
That's right. Exactly. So as you mentioned, it takes two to throw a touchdown. I mean, it takes two. It takes a guy catching it. And you've had a lot of great ones in your time. We mentioned Greg Dortch earlier in the interview. But this year specifically, I mean, you have 5 guys who are just dudes at the wide receiver position. How have you been able to keep all of them happy this year, Sam? Like, how has that been possible?
Hey, don't forget about Blake. You know, he's another guy. Back shoulder against Clemson.
Okay. All right. Even more.
Oh, got to throw that in there.
No, they got him, so I can't really say much. But no, I think I don't. I mean, it's the culture here. I don't think there's a very selfish tendency again for even receivers. But I mean, I think it's just a culture here. I think guys understand that their time will come, and it all comes full circle every single game. It's like AT has 4 catches for 600 yards and 3 touchdowns one game, and then the next game it's Keyshawn, next game it's Taylor, and some guys it's 2-3 games where you're not getting it, but it's all the concepts, all the stuff. It's all just you're helping somebody out, somebody else is helping you out, and then you got to go block, you got to go throw a shoulder and a safety, whatnot, and it's a culture. It's Coach Higgins, his wide receiver room dynamic. I mean, if you were selfish and you wanted your, catch hungry and touchdown hungry, you just stick out, and you honestly probably, you wouldn't be here because, most of the time those guys get weeded out. And it's just, it's a culture here. It's, like it just wouldn't really fly, I guess would be my answer to that.
Sure.
So.
Sure. That makes it easier, man, when the guys understand and that culture that's in place that I know is so strong right now. All right, let's move on. We're going to wrap up here, talk a little Duke, and get you back into the film room or study hall. Do you study anymore? You have like 6 degrees, I think.
Yeah,
whatever you need to do.
I actually got to go make rounds.
Yeah, doctor.
Rounds
yeah. We'll get
down at Atrium Health. So
that's perfect. We'll get you back so you can do some rounds. The Blue Devils, man, they're much improved, and Coach Elko's done a really nice job getting them in the win column very quickly. What have you seen on them from film that just makes them so improved in your opinion?
I mean, they fly around. They're good players too as well. Like, I don't want to say that, and then it sounds like I'm just saying they just because their effort. Like, I mean, their front 7. I mean, all around their 11 is 11 guys that are bought in and committed to that kind of football style that is is accustomed to Wake, and it's definitely it's going to be a big challenge, and we know that it's a big game on both ends, right? This is kind of our it's a rivalry week. This is our rivalry. We're trying to go in and win our next game and go 1-0 this week, and it's going to be the same message up there. And it's their senior night, right? It's the classic kind of teams coming in to try and ruin their senior night, and it's definitely it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a 4-quarter battle. You see how they played UNC, Pitt, right? All those games have come down to the wire, and Riley, their quarterback, is playing an incredible has had an incredible season throwing and running. He's he plays I would say the quarterback position really well, and does runs hard, and you can tell that those guys are playing for him the way he runs the ball and just sells out. And so I have a lot of respect for him and the way he plays, and obviously their skill positions really they've scored a lot of points. They're running well, throwing it well. So we know it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be high scoring. It's going to be physical. Their front 7, their D line, the 2 interior guys are probably 2 of the best we play all year. And so we're excited for the challenge. And last regular season game of my career. So excited for the challenge. We know it's not going to be easy, and it's going to be one of those 4-quarter drag out, knockout kind of deals. We just got to survive the blows, because it's going to be Thanksgiving. So even if we were playing at home, not sure how much of a crowd atmosphere it'll be. Just how those Thanksgiving games go. People are home, but I'm sure they're going to be up for it, and it's going to be quite a game for sure. Probably the most physical game we play all year will be this one.
I'm glad you mentioned Riley. We had him on way back in September, but the passion and the effort that he plays with, I think, reminds me of you as well. And I mean, just when you look at the quarterbacks in the state of North Carolina, it's pretty unreal. I know Devin Leary's hurt, but that group of quarterbacks is pretty darn special. Sam, we know it's your last game of the regular season, and you kind of mentioned that. I want to ask this because Thanksgiving is tomorrow. Are you a big Thanksgiving guy? And as a football player, can you go hard on Thanksgiving in terms of eating? Or is that just not wise when you're playing a couple of days later?
We can go hard. I'm not a huge Thanksgiving guy. I'm not. I know.
Oh.
That's why I know.
Wow. Shocking.
But we do, every Thursday night, we have kind of some of the guys on the team. We have tradition steaks So we get some big ribeyes from one of the meat shops downtown. Throw them on the Blackstone, get them fired up.
Come on.
Little onions, little mashed potatoes, mac and cheese. So that we'll do Thanksgiving as a team, and then after it's kind of more where we get after it. Like I'm usually like a 2 ribeye guy. Like I'm eating fat. Like I'm getting after it. Like I can eat. Like I can. I might not look like I can, but I can. So I'm really looking forward to that Thursday tradition, steaks, the boys. It's a good time. Christmas music has made its way into the tradition now, so we're sitting outside. It's freezing.
Yes.
We got our Carhartts on. We're getting active. So it's a good time.
Man. All right. You saved yourself with the Christmas music. You're back.
Guy.
You're back. I understand.
I like my red
You
meat.
just want a steak, which, yeah. You're right after Max Hart.
I could eat red meat every meal for the rest of my life. So I was born part carnivore. I can't get it out of me.
I wouldn't advise it. I wouldn't advise it, but if you do what you got to do. Sam, I appreciate you, man. It's been so fun to cover you these last couple of years. You're an absolute baller, dude. Appreciate your time, and thanks always.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate you guys. And always, go Deeks.